Nadi, and welcome to the latest episode of 5G Malaysia. Wait a minute, sorry. Welcome to the latest episode of Nadi Digital Economy Malaysia, and I think I've tipped my hand about what's going to be the main story for this week. And with me is my colleague Dzof Azmi, and we're going to talk about probably pick on 3 or 4 stories to talk about. And obviously, we have to start with 5G because there has been a veritable firestorm of 5G stories happening that happened in Malaysia this week. And even as we are talking now, I think, Dzof, you were saying that on the edgemarkets.com website, they have produced a quick article, condensing some of the key points that Tengku Zafrul, the Finance Minister of Malaysia, has shared on his Facebook in an extremely lengthy post, explaining that he was fully in communication with the Ministry of Communication and Multimedia, discussing all facets of our 5G rollout and the possibilities also. And he was responding to a report in Parliament by the Deputy Minister of Communication and Multimedia, who was saying that the Minister of Finance was in his own world and he never communicated, collaborated, work together with the ministry in appointing and deciding, or not in deciding on this single wholesale network approach that Malaysia has boldly taken. And I would be very concerned about his claim, if not for the fact that he was also the deputy minister when the previous government under Muhyiddin Yassin made the decision to go with the 5G single wholesale network. So I have no idea what the deputy minister, the good deputy minister, was either smoking, as the Americans would say, or in which cloud was his head, that he seemed not to be aware that this decision was made when he was already the deputy minister, right, in the previous administration. And now, voila, 100 days into this next administration, which is the third administration we're in after the Pakatan Harapan took over in 2018, which also had agreed that they wanted to go with the single 5G approach, but their approach was that to say, hey, why don't all of you operators come together among yourselves and work out how you want to own this network, failing which that we are going to come in and do it our way, right? Fair warning to the operators then. That didn't happen because there was a change in government, and then now, voila, this happens. And Tengku Zafrul, anyway, did a lengthy, go to his Facebook and you can check very well, very eloquent, very precise explanation of the timeline and what happened to very squarely debunk the deputy minister's claim that that the ministry was ignorant, were not informed, which when you look at that, it's just astounding that the deputy minister can make such a claim. On the one hand, you are thinking that this guy, like I said, right, his head is in the clouds, to put it mildly, or the other one you want to say is that the guy is just plain flat out lying. To bring Dzof in, right? There were so many stories, right? And I did write a commentary on the weekend, on Sunday, about much ado over Malaysia's against the green 5G approach. And then I did it on Sunday. On Friday, Digital Nasional Bhd actually invited some media to KL, right, to test 5G live.
Yes.
And then I was part of the second group of media on Monday in Putrajaya, and they tested 5G again. So the 5G test was not what I expected, where I thought they would give all of us a device, a tablet or a phone, and say, go and play around, right? And we're going to put you in a car and you decide what you're going to do and come back and tell us what you think. It was actually a guided test where in the ballroom of the hotel, they pick Netflix and they download a video, right, on Netflix, one using 4G network, one using 5G. And what I liked was they did not put an AP point in the ballroom itself, right? So it was you were relying on the nearest base station, right, for you to stream down the download to the two phones. So they're using similar phones, okay, important, and one 4G, 5G. Daylight, a world of difference in terms of the speed. and then they took you onto the bus, and again there was a world of difference in the speed, right? When I say world of difference, it was by a factor of 7 to a factor of 9, right? Speed performance, right, which is unbelievable. So that's what they did. But I'm suspecting that because the other party knew that they were doing this, right, and you're going to get some media buzz come out to say that 5G is so strong that the timing of this happened then. And I think many of you would know that there were so many articles there, right, where Zafrul saying they work together, the government, and then the minister, Tan Sri Anwar Musa, said that we will decide on a wholesale model in January. Can you imagine? After the government had decided now...
Sorry, Karam.
Okay.
I just want to say that's bizarre. It's absolutely bizarre. It's one thing if this is a new government overturning a decision of a previous government.
Yes.
But this is fundamentally the same bunch of guys.
They just did the UX. The UX is different, Zof. The UX is different, right? Everything else is the same, just the skin change.
So I mean, yes, there are conspiracy theories abound. I have a few in my mind. I also don't want to say out loud because I don't have any evidence for it yet. But it seems highly suspect that the timing of how certain things have been said.
Of course, absolutely,
and things like that.
I know.
But Karam, be honest here. What do you think the chances are of in January the minister coming up and saying we're going to stop this boat? We're going to all jump onto another boat and hit
very good.
Direction.
That's a good question because
do you think that's even likely?
Look, they say that they want to bring it forward to the cabinet. Okay, so in the cabinet you got like 30, 40 ministers sitting down there. If you're going to have a simple majority, you're going to have to convince at least 20 of those fellas, right? And I tell you what, those of the cabinet members, some of them who were ministers, or they will remember what happened in 2008, Zof, okay? So in 2008, which is what I wrote in my commentary, this government, the Malaysian government of the day already initiated a supply-driven high technology infrastructure, strategy where at that point, the high technology infrastructure was broadband, fiber broadband, okay? And the government gave Telecom Malaysia 2.4 billion ringgit and Telecom put in 8.9 billion. The idea of the government putting in money was to say that, look, do not go on a commercial basis, on a demand basis. We want it to be supply driven, and we are giving you this money to plug the gap, right, that you will have in the early stages where there's no demand and you've invested money in and you're going to answer to your shareholders, right? A lot of international funds have invested in Telecom Malaysia. So for you to allay you getting the heat, we're going to do this. And that is where government is being responsible. You use taxpayers' money to say that I think we can move the needle further in a very important critical infrastructure that so far has moved slowly. We are not happy, okay? The government didn't do it because they say Telecom, friend with Telecom. They were not happy with the rollout of fiber broadband in Malaysia. There were already other players able to do it, but they were all moving slow. And now this government is saying, look, we need to accelerate the rollout of 5G because we are behind. And it's a critical piece of infrastructure for investors when they want to make their decisions on which country to invest in to put their high-tech factory, their IR 4.0 factory, or just some, serious investment. We need to have that now. We are behind. And there is a sense that our competitiveness is decaying also because of the fact that there is not perception, the fact that we have unstable government over the last, year plus now. We need to get at least very strong infrastructure in. And now here, this guy is saying in January, we look at it again. And so I hope that the cabinet in January make the logical decision to say that we know this is a bold decision, but we think we've got very smart people working at it, and we've thought this out and looking at how we executed well with broadband, right? High-speed broadband. Let's go with this, right? So that's all I have to say about this, Zof. You got any last words to add to this? I know you got many words to add, but
No. We could spend 40 minutes on this quite easily. What I would like to do, Karam, is we'll just jog through the other remaining topics because the rest of the week is relatively light compared to this 5G.
No, but quickly before we go, Zof, let me just say that the GSMA produced a report a few months ago to say that the current system is not broken, which means that you should use more than one vendor for 5G. Why fix it, right? And I want to just quote from there. And by the way, the GSMA represents the interests of operators and vendors. So of course, they're going to come up with a report to defend the status quo. Because if you defend the status quo, maybe 2 or 3 of the operators will roll out 5G. And when the operators roll out 5G, their vendors are happy, right? There's more business for them. So I'm being very cynical here, but that's the reality of 5GSM also. And they said that we have not been able to identify a clear market failure to justify the proposed intervention in the 5G market. A monopolist with exclusive rights to offer 5G wholesale services will be, in our view, to the detriment of consumers. And I totally disagree. I do not think this will be to the detriment of consumers because remember, MCMC, the Malaysian regulator, will have final say over the pricing. People seem to also forget that it's not DNB, right? DNB, the operators have to agree. They'll be bumping heads coming up to some price. And when they take it up, MCMC will say, I think there's further room for downside to make it lower. So I totally disagree with GSMA's conclusion here. And they've got a new report out which will carry on Monday. And I'm sure they're further reinforcing the points they made earlier. So let's just end it at that, Dzof, right?
Yeah.
Okay, next story.
Moving on to the next story. Again, another parliamentary question. The Communications and Multimedia Minister, in a written parliamentary reply, had said that the MCMC had received more than 15,000 complaints between 2016 and 2021 regarding online harassment. Okay, so that in itself perhaps isn't surprising because there's a lot of cases of harassment going on. But maybe what's surprising is that only 963 cases out of this 15,000 plus complaints were investigated by the MCMC.
Wow.
And only 60 of them were brought to court. So the truth is that, and just to say this very quickly, Karam, the truth is that maybe you might argue a large number of these complaints did not hold merit or did not, were not valid. But the truth is that in a separate survey by survey company Ipsos, they found that 1 in 4 parents said their child had experienced some form of online harassment.
Wow.
And nearly half said they know of a child that's been involved. So it is clearly a problem, right? It's just that I guess the MCMC doesn't have the capacity to manage that many complaints. That's all I mean, I don't know what else to say.
No, it's something like this. You can bring in retired, right, investigators, and you can create by right, there should be a special task force created, right, to address this issue. Because imagine the data points you shared was from 2018. People are way more online now than they were before, especially because of the pandemic. So this is like, I would almost say that this is a critical issue that needs to be discussed because we have given all the bad actors a free pass, right? Do we really want to do that? Give all of them a free pass? So let's just end that now and maybe just move on to the next story. Dzof, is that okay? Yeah. So
no problem.
Okay. So let me go. So there's Selangkah, which is the contact tracing app of the Selangor state government. They're very proud of it. And although they may not be proud with the fact that the usage is extremely low, has now actually added value to the app by launching an e-wallet, right, to this. And I'm happy that they have partnered with a private sector company. In this case, they're using a subsidiary of a listed company, Green Packet, Kipple, which is a fintech company. And they're using the wallet, built by Kipple. Very important because then the wallet will not be buggy and it's going to be lighter. Because the Selangkah app is already very heavy, right? If you go to the iOS store, it's almost 130 meg versus the 120 meg versus the 27 meg, a very delicate, right, app of MySejahtera. Can you imagine the two apps are supposed to do the same thing? And one is 27 meg and the other one is 115, right? A factor of 400%, right? So I don't know what's going on there.
But I don't know, Kara. I mean, I would argue that even 20-something meg is perhaps too large. In the good old days when we used to do coding, we tried to make it lean and mean and tight and save space wherever we could. So I don't know. To me, 130 is a lot, but it's not necessary. Does it do what it's meant to do, and does it do it well? Is the e-wallet, this proposed e-wallet, a good idea, Kara?
I honestly don't think so. Like I said, so little usage. I'm looking at the iOS and there were 445 reviews of the My Selangkah. and they gave it a 2.2, right? So low. I mean, you've got hundreds of thousands of reviews on the MySejahtera. So I guess the state government doesn't want to admit defeat, and they feel that, if you add the wallet, right, that seems to be a magic feature. Hey, so many people need a wallet. It adds value. Maybe it makes their contact tracing app more robust and more attractive. So they're trying their best, lah. So, but I think it's a futile effort. But who are we to argue against people who want to try to add value to their product, right? So let's see how it goes, lah. So shall we just move on to the next one now? Dzof,
yes,
Luno, very important.
Yes, Luno Malaysia. I found this very interesting because Luno Malaysia has made an announcement that their customer base more than 223%. Sorry,
Wow.
I was going to say more than double, but it's actually even more than that.
Yeah, more than double.
223% and what they want to do now is they want to launch up to 10 new crypto assets, right, on their website. And the thing is, of course, they need to get permission to launch these assets. So my take on it is that I feel that the Security Commission has been taking a very cautious approach when it comes to digital assets and cryptocurrencies. And over the last year and a half, I feel even more convinced now personally than I did before that this caution is valid. I think there is good reason to take caution. I think the lack of regulation in this space, the problem is that one bad actor can do many, many bad things that impacts even the cryptocurrencies who are good, behaving well, as it were. So I'd be interested to know who these 10 new coins that they want to offer are, and I'd be interested to know whether any of them include things like stable coins, or whether they're just talking about new products.
Right. But anyway, with that, we're already over 20 minutes long. It's been interesting. And by the way, I was talking to somebody the other day about something else, and he mentioned, and I happened to ask him, hey, do you have any cryptocurrency investments? He's got 150,000 ringgit, right, in Bitcoin, and about equal that amount in not Ether, but another one that starts with an S. What is that other one? There's another cryptocurrency that has done quite well, starts with an S. So I don't know what it is. So I say, wow, so he's got 300,000 ringgit, right, in that. And he said that you need to have, he said you need to have big kahunas lah if you want to go in that amount of money, right? And you obviously got to be willing to lose the money. So there are people who are investing big money also, man.
Yes. Okay.
All right. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this week's show. Please, like I said, go in and YouTube, like the show, and then comment also, and we'll engage with you. And we'll see you again next week.